Aaron, good morning. Supervisor Desmond here.
ready to go?
Mr. Chairman, we are ready when you are.
Okay. I'll call this Wednesday, June 3rd meeting of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors to order. Today we'll be dealing with our land use item on our agenda. And in order to get started, we'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Chairman Cox. Before I call the roll, I would like to note for the record that all 5 supervisors are participating via teleconference. As such, all votes will be handled by a roll call vote. Additionally, before we begin, any members of the public that wish to provide oral testimony during today's meeting, please review the instructions placed in the Clerk of the Board's website. I'll remind members of the public that have requested to speak to wait to dial into the meeting until the item is called. With that, I will now call the roll. Supervisor Jacob?
Here.
Supervisor Gaspar?
Present.
Supervisor Fletcher?
Here.
Vice Chairman Desmond?
Here.
Chairman Cox?
Here. The first item on our agenda is a report out of the closed session that we had yesterday afternoon after the regular board meeting, and I'll ask the county council to go ahead and give us that report at this time.
Yes, thank you. The Board of Supervisors met in closed session starting at 2:20 p.m. and adjourning at 3:30 p.m. The board took the following reportable actions. Item 23B, Sierra Club v. County of San Diego. With 3 board members voting aye, Supervisor Fletcher voting no, and Supervisor Jacob abstaining, authorize County Council to appeal the Superior Court's decision ordering the county to set aside its approval of 2 housing projects and its certification of the environmental impact reports for those projects. Item 23F, initiation of litigation. With 4 board members voting aye and Supervisor Gaspar absent, authorize County Council to file a lawsuit against Rene Garcia to recover the cost to repair damage he caused to a county park and other county property. The Board of Air Pollution Control District met in closed session starting at 3:30 p.m. and adjourning at 3:49 p.m. The board took the following reportable action. Public employee appointment with 4 board members voting aye and Supervisor Gaspar absent. Appoint Robert Ryder, Acting Director of the Air Pollution Control District. Thank you.
Thank you, County Council. We'll move on now to public communication. I will ask the clerk to go ahead and read those public communications. These would be communications on non-agenda items. And I believe we have 5 of them, and I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and read those for the record at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first non-agenda comment is from Pam Harris. It reads, please allow lap swimming for exercise at swimming pools. This can be done safely with social distancing, and if locker rooms and bathrooms are closed, then lap swimmers can come in, swim, and then go home. This is being done in other areas very successfully. USA Swimming has developed protocols and recommendations for safe lap swimming during the pandemic. My sister is the aquatics director at a YMCA in North Carolina, and they opened last week, and it has been very successful. The next comment is from Kathleen Lippett. It reads, protecting children from second and third-hand smoke, tobacco, and marijuana is critical. Low-income housing families are vulnerable. I respectfully request the board consider all affordable housing be smoke-free. Also, marijuana production, manufacturing, MPF projects around the county assert the carbon dioxide extraction process is non-volatile, but poisonous gases are produced in a fire and CO2 cylinders can explode. Please provide local data regarding BHO explosions. The third comment is from Margaret Zajdel. It reads, I had lived in San Diego all my adult life and never made feel like a freak until now and your mandatory mask wearing. My medical conditions prevent me from wearing one. Among other issues, I am hearing impaired. Until now, my hearing aids made me look and feel normal, and just like that, you took it all away. Anywhere I go, not only I have to explain myself, I am denied entry and or service. Shame on you to mandate that a dirty table rug must be worn by everyone and everywhere. The fourth comment is from Tamerlan Glasscock. It reads, please reverse this ridiculous new hotel law. It's going to crush small businesses even more than rely on tourism. Mandating people sign a form saying if they are essential or homeless is so beyond power-grabbing power. My mom's small business is dying fast and her only income was her Airbnb. Now with summer coming, she was reliant on tourism money. Now this new law will surely bankrupt her. She's retired and her mental health is going down because of the stress. Please stop this madness. The last non-agenda public comment is from Ian McFarland. It reads, I am a senior at San Diego State University requesting your help in improving our communities by contracting a new Department of Environmental Health Service. With full respect for the financial burden created by COVID-19 relief efforts, this proposal offers an immediate and cost-recoverable solution to a long unaddressed pollution problem in our districts. The attachment can be found in an email sent out early this morning. Thank you for your time. That concludes non-agenda public comment this morning.
Good, thank you. We'll move on now to the approval of the statement of proceedings and the minutes for the meeting of May 20th, 2020. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved. So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Jacobs, seconded by Supervisor Gaspar. Any discussion, additions, or corrections? If not, would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you. Chairman Cox,
Aye.
Supervisor Jacob,
Aye.
Supervisor Gaspar,
Aye.
Supervisor Fletcher,
Fletcher, aye.
Vice Chairman Desmond.
Aye.
Chairman Cox, that motion passes unanimously with all board members being present and voting aye.
Okay, we'll move on now to the formation of the consent calendar. Since there are only 3 items, and I believe 2 of them are going to be pulled by the public, it's not much of a consent calendar, but let me ask the clerk to go ahead and identify those items that have been requested to be pulled by the public.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 1 has been pulled by the public. Item 2 has been pulled by the public. That leaves item 3 to be on the Board of Supervisors consent calendar for your consideration.
And what would happen if we pulled that from the consent calendar? We'd vote on it individually, just like all the others, huh?
That is correct.
Okay, let me start with Supervisor Jacob and ask if she has any items she would like to pull, like number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I don't want to pull item number 3, but I will make a motion to approve the staff recommendation on item number 3.
Okay. Supervisor Gaspar.
I will second.
Okay. Supervisor Fletcher.
No items. Well,
Vice Chair Desmond.
I do not wish to pull item 3.
Well, good. I don't either, so we'll ask the clerk to go ahead and identify those items we'll be voting on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only item that the board will be voting on for consent is item number 3. And with that motion, item 3 introduces an ordinance amending Title 8, Division 6, Chapter 7 of the San Diego County Code of Regulatory Ordinances related to water conservation and landscaping, POD-20-002.
Is there any discussion on the consent calendar? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you. Chairman Cox,
Aye.
Supervisor Jacob,
Aye.
Supervisor Gaspar,
Aye.
Supervisor Fletcher,
Fletcher, aye.
Vice Chairman Desmond.
Aye.
Chairman Cox, that motion passes unanimously with all board members being present and voting aye.
Okay, we'll move on now to item number 1, which is a notice public hearing. This is a recommendation for the County of San Diego participation in groundwater management of the BORREGO Valley groundwater basin. And I'll ask the staff if they have a presentation they would like to make at this time.
And I would ask before we jump into the staff presentation that any members of the public that have requested to speak on this item, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions provided to you, and you will be muted until it is your turn to speak. Thank you.
Through the chair, yes, we do have a presentation.
Is the staff report ready to be presented?
We're working on the audio right now, Chairman Cox. Just one moment, please.
Mr. Potter, are we having some technical difficulties?
Yes, Chairman.
We are. We're just working on the audio right now, Chairman Cox.
You want to turn on the TV just in case?
Mr. Potter, can you hear me?
We can, Chairman. We're still working to try to resolve the audio issues with this. We may have the staff just give the audio part of the presentation while we play the slides. Just one moment, please. Just one moment, please.
Good morning,
Mr.
Chairman.
Potter, are we having some technical difficulties? Mr. Potter, are we having some technical difficulties? Mr. Potter, are we having some technical difficulties?
Chairman Cox, we are fixing the technical difficulties. In the meantime, Jim Bennett is going to be reading the speaking notes, and then we're just going to manually move the slides forward so that we can continue with the hearing. Thank you for your patience, and we'll get started in just a minute.
Good morning, Chairman Cox and members of the board. I'm Jim Bennett with Planning and Development Services. Item number 1 on today's agenda is the recommendation for County of San Diego participation in groundwater management of the Borrego Valley groundwater basin. On September 16, 2014, Governor Brown signed the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA, which provided a framework to regulate groundwater in designated basins for the first time in California history. SGMA went into effect on January 1st, 2015, and requires local public agencies to form groundwater sustainability agencies, or GSAs, and to develop and implement groundwater sustainability plans. After the passage of SGMA, the state provided grant funding to support GSAs to implement groundwater sustainability plans. The governor's May 2020 revision to the budget is proposing to remove $40 million for SGMA implementation. However, it includes $26 million of existing Proposition 68 bond funds to local agencies in critically overdrafted basins, such as Borrego Springs, to help defray the costs of implementation projects. Although this budget withdrawal potentially impacts grant funding for groundwater sustainability projects in the county, staff intends on monitoring the budgetary process to determine the practical implications of implementing SGMA to reach sustainability at the end of the 20-year implementation period. As shown on the slide in yellow, San Diego County contains 3 basins or subbasins that are subject to SGMA: Borrego Springs Subbasin, Upper San Luis Rey Valley Subbasin, and the San Pasqual Valley Basin. Although the county is not a purveyor of water, the county formed GSAs with other local agencies to meet the state-mandated deadlines. In November 2018, the board authorized withdrawal from being a GSA for the San Luis Rey Valley Groundwater Basin in deference to groundwater management by local water agencies with ongoing water supply and water management responsibilities. The county continues to participate as a stakeholder to provide technical support and ensure integration with land use and well permitting responsibilities. Today's hearing focuses on groundwater management in the Borrego Springs subbasin.
Well, now we can hear it all.
Chairman Cox, it's our understanding that supervisors are not able to hear the presentation, although some members of the public are. We are going to just start over with Jim Bennett making the presentation from here in the board chamber.
Very good. So he'll start with the new report.
Yes, thank you. We'll just start with that slide presentation.
Back to slide 1. Good morning, Chairman Cox and members of the board. I'm Jim Bennett with Planning and Development Services. Item number 1 on today's agenda is the recommendation for County of San Diego participation in groundwater management of the Borrego Valley groundwater basin. On September 16, 2014, Governor Brown signed the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA, which provided a framework to regulate groundwater in designated basins for the first time in California history. SGMA went into effect on January 1st, 2015, and requires local public agencies to form groundwater sustainability agencies, or GSAs, and to develop and implement groundwater sustainability plans. After the passage of SGMA, the state provided grant funding to support GSAs to implement groundwater sustainability plans. The governor's May 2020 revision to the budget is proposing to remove $40 million for SGMA implementation. However, it includes $26 million of existing Proposition 68 bond funds to local agencies in critically overdrafted basins such as Borrego Springs to help defray the cost of implementation projects. Although this budget withdrawal potentially impacts grant funding for groundwater sustainability projects in the county, staff intends on monitoring the budgetary process to determine the practical implications of implementing SGMA to reach sustainability at the end of the 20-year implementation period. As shown on the slide in yellow, San Diego County contains 3 basins or subbasins that are subject to SGMA: Borrego Springs Subbasin, Upper San Luis Rey Valley Subbasin, and the San Pasqual Valley Basin. Although the county is not a purveyor of water, the county formed GSAs with other local agencies to meet the state-mandated deadlines. In November 2018, the board authorized withdrawal from being a GSA for the San Luis Rey Valley Groundwater Basin in deference to groundwater management by local water agencies with ongoing water supply and water management responsibilities. The county continues to participate as a stakeholder to provide technical support and ensure integration with land use and well permitting responsibilities. Today's hearing focuses on groundwater management in the Borrego Springs Subbasin. In October 2016, the board entered into an MOU with the Borrego Water District to establish the Borrego Valley GSA for the Borrego Valley Groundwater Basin, which includes the Borrego Springs Subbasin. The plan area is highlighted in yellow on the slide. The county undertook this effort to support the community and ensure timely completion of the sustainability plan. The county provided the initial funding and hired the consultant to develop the sustainability plan. After 19 public advisory committee meetings over a 2.5-year period, the sustainability plan was finalized on August 30th, 2019. The sustainability plan concluded a 75% reduction in groundwater use is needed to comply with the sustainability requirements of SGMA. As a legal alternative to a GSA-implemented sustainability plan, representatives from agriculture, golf courses, and the Borrego Water District
have voluntarily worked together to develop a water rights holders stipulated agreement to collectively manage the basin through a court-approved process. Notably, this sustainability plan was the first complete draft plan developed in the state, and the BORREGO Basin is the first in the state to utilize a stipulated agreement to comply with SGMA. On October 16, 2019, the board authorized the county's withdrawal from being a groundwater sustainability agency for the basin without adopting the sustainability plan. The board took this action to facilitate and support the stipulated agreement process that was being undertaken by the majority of the groundwater users in the basin. Since the groundwater users and purveyors committed to managing the basin, it was no longer necessary for the county to remain a GSA. Once the majority of groundwater pumpers who use more than 90% of the groundwater in the basin agreed to terms in the stipulated agreement, the BORREGO Water District filed the stipulated agreement with the Superior Court of California on January 31st, 2020. Since the stipulated agreement will still need to meet the technical sustainability requirements of SGMA, the sustainability plan was included as an attachment to the stipulated agreement. Once approved, the court will have responsibility to oversee groundwater management in the basin. The court will likely appoint a water master board to act as an arm of the court to manage groundwater resources in the basin. The stipulating parties have requested the county's participation on the water master board, along with a representative from the agricultural sector, golf courses, the municipal sector, and the BORREGO Springs community. The stipulated agreement provides two options for county participation in managing groundwater resources within the basin. The first option, as requested by the stipulating parties, is to participate as a member of the Water Master Board. The Water Master Board members are representatives of groundwater users in the basin and a community member. The Water Master Board will function like a GSA by overseeing and enforcing water rights, imposing reductions on groundwater use, and collecting fees. The GSA is a role that the board recently rescinded for the county since groundwater users and purveyors in the basin committed to managing the basin. The second option is for staff to participate on the Technical Advisory Committee. The advisory committee will be comprised of engineers and hydrogeologists who will review technical information about the basin's groundwater conditions and provide recommendations to the Water Master Board. Membership on the advisory committee will be open to any appropriately licensed experts hired by water rights holders in the basin or the county. County participation on the technical advisory committee would be similar to the role the county is playing in the San Luis Rey Valley groundwater basin. As the county is not a water supply agency and water master activities would be outside of current county functions, staff is not recommending participating as a formal member on the Water Master Board. Water Master Board activities are like that of a water purveyor such as the BORREGO Water District. The BORREGO Water District has water supply and water management responsibilities and would be relied upon for implementing sustainability projects recommended by the Water Master Board. The county's role is that of a well permitting and land use agency, and being on the Water Master Board isn't necessary to ensure county's land use and well permitting responsibilities are considered. Instead of serving on the Water Master Board, staff recommends supporting the community through county participation on the Technical Advisory Committee and attendance at the public Water Master Board meetings as a county liaison. Qualified county staff would be able to advise the Water Master on county well permitting and land use related items and fulfill the community's request for impartial guidance while being actively involved in the Technical Advisory Committee and Water Master Board meetings. Participation on the Advisory Committee is consistent with prior board action to support the community on the San Luis Rey Valley Basin, whereby the board approved county staff participation in an advisory capacity to provide technical support and ensure integration with land use and well permitting responsibilities. In consideration of the stipulated agreement for future groundwater management, staff recommends that the board authorize PDS to notify the court and relevant public and private parties of the County of San Diego's intent to not serve as a formal member of the Water Master Board, but to participate on the advisory committee and attend public Water Master Board meetings for the BORREGO Valley Groundwater Basin. Thank you. This concludes our presentation. Staff is available for questions.
Okay, let me ask my colleagues if there's a desire for any questions to be answered before we get to the public testimony.
I have a question, Supervisor or Chair Cox. It basically, what Jim Bennett had presented, one of the things I wasn't clear on is, he said the water master is an arm of the court. I guess, I don't know, Bill Witt's there or Tom Montgomery that could answer the question of, what does that mean to be an arm of the court, and how would disputes be handled since the water master would be acting in that capacity?
Supervisor Desmond, we have Senior Deputy County Counsel Justin Crumley on the line, and he would also like to add an addition to the staff report as well.
Thank you. Can I get my question answered?
I'll answer the question first. The role that a water master plays is the court would approve the stipulated agreement, and the court would approve the mechanisms of enforcement that the water master would come up to implement the agreement. So the enforcement measures that the Water Master Board takes are similar to those that Groundwater Sustainability Agency takes. The difference between the mechanism of the stipulated agreement is that the court approves the stipulated agreement and methods, and the water master takes further actions based on the court's approval of the stipulated agreement.
But they can't do anything different than the court stipulated agreement.
No, but at this point in time, the stipulated agreement is basically a shell, and the plan is a shell. So some things that the water master will be coming up with is maybe the methods of reduction, the priority of reductions, and how they'll be enforced. And those would need to be consistent with any court orders. But at this point in time, the court hasn't provided any directional orders.
Well, I guess as far as the entities being shells, the stipulated agreement is actually the physical solutions to meet the mandates in the basin. So I think it's more than a shell. It actually has the solutions that have to be met with that. But okay, thank you very much.
The one additional note that I wanted to clarify is along those lines, that the stipulated agreement includes initial estimates of water rights, and non-stipulated parties have not had the opportunity to intervene to contest their own water right estimates or provide those, but will through the court process. And again, the agreement, stipulated agreement as is now, does not have the detail of the groundwater reductions and how they'll be prioritized or enforced at this time, but has the general framework of the amount that needs to be reduced.
Okay, are there any other questions of staff before we get to the public testimony? Hearing none, my understanding is we have 4 speakers, and I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and call those individuals up at this time.
Thank you, Chairman Cox. I'll also note for the record that we received 3 e-comments on this item. And as you noted, we do have 4 callers on the line to address the board. We'll be calling speakers by the last 4 digits of their phone number. You'll hear a notification that your call has been unmuted, and each caller will be asked to state their name for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to address the board. You'll hear this sound when your time is up, so please conclude your comments at that time. And I'd remind the public speakers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. Aaron, please identify the first caller.
Thank you. The first caller is 0828.
Hi, this is Chairman Cox and members of the board. This is Jack McGrory. I'm a part owner of La Casa del Zorro Resort in BORREGO, and the owner of 1,500 acres of farms and nursery in the valley. We started this process 4 years ago with a deeply divided BORREGO community. The level of distrust and cynicism about this process was gigantic. The county took the lead, and with your expertise and your staff and financial resources, brought us together over a 4-year period to produce a groundwater sustainability plan. The stakeholders then took that plan and converted it into a stipulated judgment because we thought it would be more binding on all the parties in the valley. As part of that plan, we developed a 5-person board with the farmers, Recreation, the BORREGO Water District, and the community represented on it. We have proposed that the fifth member of the board be the County of San Diego or an appointee of the Board of Supervisors. We did that because you have been the honest, neutral broker in the solution to a huge infrastructure issue in the unincorporated area. To get all of the parties in this community to agree to a 75% reduction in water is gigantic. We think you would play a valuable role on the board, and continuing that role as the big adult in the room to broker compromises on that board and be actively involved. We appreciate Jim's involvement on the Technical Advisory Committee, but we do believe strongly that the board should have an appointee. We think in terms of liability, that a member would be protected by judicial immunity by virtue of the fact the Water Master Board is an arm of the Superior Court. And in the stipulated judgment, there is a very strong indemnification provision for the members of the board. So we think you're covered in terms of liability, and politically, we think your continued involvement as a leader in the solution to this really big infrastructure problem in BORREGO is vital. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 2955. 2955, you may proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the board. My name is Russell McLaughlin. I am counsel to TT BORREGO LLC, which is the owner of Rams Hill Golf Course. I was involved in the negotiation and drafting of the stipulated judgment that establishes the Water Master, and I speak today to urge the county's participation as a Water Master board member, and specifically to address the concern that we've heard of potential county liability as a result of their participation. We were informed of this concern prior to submitting the judgment. My office did research the issue, and we are very comfortable that there is effectively no liability risk for either Water Master members or the appointing entities. Specifically, a Water Master is a special master of the court. You heard them referred to as an arm of the court. The legal terminology is special master. And as such, they enjoy the same judiciary that courts do. In fact, we found cases in which special masters were expressly held to possess judicial immunity. And there's no case in California in which a Water Master or its appointing members have been held liable for any actions of Water Master or the actions of the individual members. But the concern is further ameliorated in two very significant respects. One, as was just mentioned, we added indemnification provisions to specifically address the concern into the stipulated judgment. These provisions are similar to public company indemnification provisions for directors and officers. This includes an advance provision for defense cost for any director, and also extended indemnification to the organizations that appointed the board member. Our drafting of these provisions considered the expressed concerns of the county staff. Second, we need to be clear about what the Water Master will and will not do. It will act as the day-to-day manager of the basin on behalf of the court, but it is not the entity setting pumping allocations or mandating reductions by pumpers. These actions are by the court under the proposed judgment, not an action of Water Master. And I think we should clarify a statement that was made in the staff report that Water Master Board will collect fees, impose reductions on groundwater use, and keep the long-term reduction schedule. Burton, the statement is not quite accurate. The enforcement of water rights and reductions and the reduction schedule are set by the judgment, and the enforcement is made by the court, not the Water Master. The reductions and the priority of water rights are hardwired in the judgment, consistent with the water rights, which are termed base production allocation of each individual. So the reductions are lockstep per the percentage allocation that the individual pumpers receive under the judgment. In closing, the county's participation would be very helpful in completing the balanced board membership that's constructed in the judgment for Water Master, and bringing this compromise for comprehensive management of the BORREGO Basin to fruition without contested litigation. This is a remarkable achievement, unique in California. The county should not be concerned over the prospect of liability for the reasons I have mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 3918.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Poole, General Manager of BORREGO Water District. It's a pleasure to be speaking to the board this morning. I'd like to specifically thank Supervisor Desmond and his staff for his true desire to understand the water issues in BORREGO Springs and promote continued cooperation between our agencies. The BWD board has asked me to represent our agency this morning and share our thoughts on why we oppose staff's recommendation for non-participation in the Water Master Board. Borrego Springs represents one of the most complex water puzzles in California, as its groundwater basin is currently overdrafted and possesses no imported sources for water supply. Basin pumpers have been working on this issue for years, and at each step in the journey, the county has been a key contributor. In 2012, the Borrego Water Coalition was formed, and for the first time in Borrego Springs, various pumping interests began to come together and discuss water issues. The county was one of the BWC's founding members. In 2016 through early 2020, the county and BWD created the Borrego Springs Subbasin Groundwater Sustainability Agency. Our agency is working with an advisory committee of stakeholders, held 20 meetings over a 2+ year period, and created a comprehensive 1,500-page groundwater sustainability plan, which at the time of completion was the first in the state. In early 2019, at the encouragement of the county, BWD and other pumpers began negotiations on the stipulated judgment and settlement agreement. In late January 2020, over 92% of basin pumpers signed and filed the documents with the Superior Court and Department of Water Resources. The Borrego Springs stipulation is currently a one of its kind, and the first time in California, a basin has used the alternative process created by the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act for submitting its plan to DWR. From day one of stipulation negotiations on the topic of governance, a seat for the county has been reserved. The main reasons for including the county was its fundamental role as a governing body with regulatory authority for issues pertaining to Borrego Springs, with the exception of water and sewer. The integration of land use planning and water sustainability, and vice versa, is one example where retaining this connection is critical. Another benefit from the county seat on the board comes from a need for an independent voice, since the majority of current members represent various pumping sectors previously identified. Taking all of these factors into consideration, the BWD Board of Directors and yours truly request the county's full participation in the Water Master Board and technical advisory committees. If the county is not ready to take this step, please defer this item and allow the parties to continue discussions to address any remaining concerns about liability or other issues. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 8176.
Yes, you say I'm unneeded?
Unmuted.
Unmuted, excuse me.
You are. We can hear you, sir.
Okay, my name is Jim Seeley. I'm with Seeley Ranches. We farmed up to 400 acres. We've been there since the 1950s. The county has been involved in the water sustainability since 1985. They have a historic view of the valley. And at the moment, we presently have 4 members of the Water Master Board, one from the Borrego Water District, one from the community, one from agriculture, and one from recreation. We request the county to remain and agree to be a voting member of the Water Master Board, as well as a member of the Technical Advisory Committee. As I stated, we presently have 4 members and would like the county to be the 5th to prevent stagnation and provide a neutral, holistic view for the valley. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that concludes public testimony on this item. Chairman Cox.
Okay, we'll proceed now to board discussion. Supervisor Desmond, do you have some comments you want to make or a motion?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. And I appreciate, staff's presentation and their perspective on this issue. Even though I disagree with it, I think both sides are right. Our staff and our county council are there. They work for our entity to make sure the county is safe and keep us from risk and liability issues and things like that. And they work to make sure that the county is safe and stays viable. I think, though, in this issue, we see danger on the horizon, possibly because it's a new unknown. And from the staff's perspective, is let's throw them a lifeboat, but let's turn around and leave them on their own. And then from my perspective, I too want the county, to be risk adverse and have all the protections in place. but we can't pick and choose our issues of which problems we deal with. This is a big issue for Borrego Valley and the residents there. And while our staff works for the county, we work for the taxpayers. These are the ones that pay the taxes, to keep the engine of the county running. And those folks are asking for our help. They're asking for our help and our expertise on this Water Master Board to continue the efforts to help them get through this issue. And quite frankly, the county is somewhat complicit in some of these, in the reason we're in this place right now. As noted out of Mr. Poole's letter, the basin was declared an overdraft in 1982 by a study funded by the county. And it took 30 years later that they got the Borrego Water Coalition, which the county was a part of, to start actually doing something about it. So I think, the county itself, we shouldn't turn our backs on the community that wants our help, that we've been helpful to, and they want our continued help and efforts. And yes, there are risks. There are risks in this, but I think as pointed out from their side, the liability and the protections from the court, it would be, in my mind, sufficient. And I would like to see us, reach out and help the community. I mean, if this was Fallbrook or Alpine or Ramona or Valley Center and they wanted our help, we should do it. We should help them. That's what we're here for. We are their governing body. They don't have any other governing body to go to. And this governing body or this entity, the county, allowed that basin to be overdrafted for several years. And now here we are. So I'd like to, I'll make a motion that we reject the staff's proposal and that we have Jim Bennett, who has the expertise and has helped out thus far in Borrego Valley, helping them with the groundwater sustainability plan, the stipulated agreement, to be our appointee on the Borrego Water Master Board. And we ask staff to limit our liability and strengthen our indemnification on this endeavor.
We have a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Happy to second that motion.
Discussion? I would just add one comment. I think I really appreciate the work that staff has done working with the Borrego community and Supervisor Desmond. I know I spent a lot of time helping to bring these different parties together. This is a very difficult issue if you're facing a 75% reduction in groundwater usage over the next few years. And so I think it does beg for the county's active involvement and hoping to make sure that we come up with a workable solution for all parties. Let me just clarify one thing. Supervisor Desmond, there's several recommendations, I believe. Do you want to reject all the recommendations or just the one in regards to the water board, Master?
Just the one for the water board. I see there's two recommendations. The first one is determine is not subject to CEQA. I'll keep that in place. And reject item 2, which is to only participate in the on the advisory panel.
Well, I'm not trying to wordsmith it, but is it better to go ahead and say to authorize staff to participate as a member of the water board? Water Master Board, excuse me.
In naming Jim Bennett, I thought I did that.
Okay, all right. Is that okay with the seconder of the motion?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, any further discussion?
Chairman Cox, this is County Council. One clarification, maybe instead of naming Jim Bennett, we could name it the county groundwater geologist, whoever that is filling that position. And also, we're looking for a little more clarification on strengthening the indemnification as far as what the intent is on that.
Is that the title that Mr. Bennett holds right now?
It is Water Resources Manager.
So I guess his title then, I guess, would be sufficient. And as far as if there's any means that staff would like to I mean, to go out and if you have questions about liability or indemnification, that you do everything possible to strengthen that, and lessen the amount of liability and strengthen the indemnifications in this endeavor, but we participate in this endeavor.
Is that the understanding of the seconder of the motion?
Yeah, that's fine. I would just add, just briefly on this, that it is certainly nothing in life is without risk. And I certainly understand deeply the complications surrounding water policy and the potential litigious nature of it. I think given that the masters are an extension of the Superior Court, given some of the explicit stuff, it doesn't mean there's no risk. There's certainly some, but I think it is a lower level risk for us to participate on the 5-member panel. I also think it is important that these are very complex, difficult issues. And I think to the extent we've had county staff involved in this for 4 or 5 years now, and by all parties' acknowledgement, played a real leadership role. One, I think our staff involved should be commended for navigating what is such an incredibly difficult situation. And I would just hate to see us abandon that right when we're on the goal line. And the ability to see this through, I think, is appropriate. And so I'm pleased to support the motion and feel comfortable moving forward.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions.
Supervisor Jacob, go ahead.
Yeah, does that mean the county will also be a part of the technical advisory committee, or only sitting on the water master board?
Well, as a maker of the motion, I guess I would like to have both. I guess I had assumed we would still be a technical advising committee by having Mr. Bennett's position on that board. But if you think that would be best to have it in both positions, I'd be happy to include that in the motion.
I don't know if it's necessary. That's why I asked the question. I don't think it's necessary for, if the county's going to be on the board, to be on the technical advisory committee. So we're talking just county on the technical advisory committee, right? Or
well, no.
On the board. I'm sorry, on the board. Okay. On the board.
That's the motion. And I guess I'm assuming, maybe that's the wrong thing to do, that we'd also be a technical in a technical advising capacity as well through that position on the
board. Yeah, I think that's important to clarify, particularly from a staff time perspective. Don't need to do both, just on the board. So my second question, because you mentioned limiting liability as a part of your motion, could we have a report back from council at some point on how the county would propose to limit our liability, other than the defense and indemnification that was mentioned earlier?
Yes, Supervisor Jacob, we can do that for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're muted, Greg.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. If there's no further discussion, would the clerk go ahead and identify the motion that we're voting on, and then go ahead and call the roll?
Thank you, Chairman Cox. The motion is to adopt recommendation number 1 and revise recommendation 2, which is to essentially reject the staff proposal and appoint the county's water resource manager to participate as a member of the Water Master Board.
Okay, please call the roll.
Additionally, staff to limit the liability and strengthen the indemnification on the endeavor.
As necessary, or as best they can, is really what I'm trying to get to, is to the best point of limiting that. So if there's ways to do that, we'd like to hear about it, and I guess bring it back to the board as Supervisor Jacob had asked for.
Okay, we got a clear understanding of what we're voting on. Would the clerk go ahead and call the roll?
Thank you. Chairman Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Jacob?
Aye.
Supervisor Gaspar?
Aye.
Supervisor Fletcher?
Fletcher, aye.
Vice Chairman Desmond?
Desmond, aye, and thank you, everyone.
Chairman Cox, that motion passes unanimously with all board members being present and voting aye.
Okay, The last item we have on today's agenda is item number 2, which is a notice of public hearing. This is an amendment to the Otay Ranch Village 14 and Planning Area 16/19 specific plan amendment, revised vesting tentative map and site plan, and amendment to the multiple species conservation program located in the Homol-Dosura sub-regional plan area. I believe we have a staff presentation on this item. So why don't we go ahead and proceed with that at this time.
Before we jump into the staff presentation, I would like to remind any members of the public that have requested to speak on this item, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you, and you will be muted until it is your turn to speak. Mr. Chairman, we're just pulling up the PowerPoint presentation now. Apologize for the technical difficulties.
Good morning, Chairman Cox and Supervisors. Today we'll be presenting on item number 2, the amendment to the Otay Ranch Village 14 and Planning Areas 16 and 19 project. On June 26, 2019, the Board of Supervisors considered and approved the Otay Ranch Village 14 and Planning Areas 16 and 19 project, or approved project, and authorized the county to enter into dispute resolution agreement between the county, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, the United States Fish and Wildlife, collectively the wildlife agencies, and the applicant. On November 14, 2019, the applicant submitted an amendment to the approved project, which consists of a specific plan amendment and vesting revised tentative map and site plan, to reflect the changes anticipated by the dispute resolution agreement. During the processing of the approved project, the wildlife agencies commented that 3 areas, Proctor Valley 1, 2, and 3, were designated preserve, and that these areas could not be provided incidental take authorization except by amending the County of San Diego's multiple species conservation program with concurrence by the wildlife agencies. The Endangered Species Act prohibits the take of listed species through direct harm or habitat destruction unless incidental take permits are obtained. Prior to the Board of Supervisors hearing on the approved project, the applicant, the county, and the wildlife agencies began discussions to resolve the concerns related to an incidental take permit. A dispute resolution agreement was prepared that outlined a process to provide take authorization for the project and to resolve the concerns related to PV1, PV2, and PV3. The dispute resolution agreement process included 3 steps: a land exchange between the applicant and the wildlife agencies to be approved by the state's Wildlife Conservation Board, an amendment to the county's MSCP subarea plan, and changes to the approved project's configuration and footprint through a project amendment. The project amendment is before the board today as a revised project to approve with modifications, or deny. The project is located in the unincorporated area of southern San Diego County, east of State Route 125, a toll road, and west of State Route 94. The project is 1.3 miles from the southern section of Village 14 to Chula Vista and 1/2 mile to the southwest of the community of Homol. The project amendment site is approximately 914 acres and is located within the Proctor Valley portion of Otay Ranch and within the Homol-Dosura subregional plan area. The project amendment site remains undeveloped, and the surrounding lands include vacant, undeveloped, and conservation lands owned by other public agencies. As part of the dispute resolution agreement, land was swapped between development and preserve areas. The areas shown in green on this map will be added to the MSCP preserve. The areas shown in blue on this map will be available for development. The area shown in peach will not change, and the area in yellow will be recorded as a conservation easement. The project amendment is consistent with the density in the Otay Ranch General Development Plan and Subregional Plan and the county's general plan. The project amendment includes revisions to the approved project to decrease the overall acreage from approximately 1,284 to approximately 914 acres and decrease the size of the development area by approximately 230 acres from 809 acres to 579 acres. The project amendment will increase the number of residential units by 147 from 1,119 to 1,266. Due to the increase in residential units, the project amendment also proposes to increase the size of the school site by 0.2 acres from 9.7 to 9.9 acres and increase the mixed-use site by 1 acre from 1.7 to 2.7 acres. The project amendment includes 21.8 acres of public and private parks eligible for the Parkland Dedication Ordinance, or PLDO, exceeding PLDO requirements by 1.8 acres, but representing a reduction of 1.5 acres in public and private park acres compared to the approved project. The amount of open space will increase by approximately 311.8 acres from 649.9 acres to 961.7 acres. The project amendment maintains the 2.3 acre joint use site for a fire station and sheriff's storefront, and 4.5 miles of multi-use pathways and 2 miles of community pathways. Comments regarding the project amendment were received during processing, the public review period, and during community meetings. Public concerns focused on the South County MSCP subarea plan, fire safety and emergency evacuation, greenhouse gas emissions, traffic, septic, and the environmental impact report addendum. The county has applied for an MSCP amendment from the wildlife agencies to receive take authorization for the project amendment area that is known as Proctor Valley 2 and a portion of Proctor Valley 3. The final approval of the MSCP amendment by the wildlife agencies will be issued after the board's consideration of the project amendment. The MSCP amendment proposes to designate planning areas 16 and PV1 and PV3 as hardline preserve, which is defined as conserved areas with no development permitted, authorizes take of covered species within PV2 and the portion of PV3 for a water basin in Proctor Valley Road, addresses an impact to approximately 2 acres of preserve due to a required secondary access road, and includes the request for the necessary take authorization for the Keno checker spot butterfly and San Diego fairy shrimp. The MSCP amendment that resulted from the dispute resolution agreement required changes to the approved project through the project amendment that is before the board today. During the processing of the project amendment, staff received public comments regarding fire protection and emergency evacuation. The project amendment was reviewed and analyzed for conformance with the County Consolidated Fire Code, California Code of Regulations Title 14, Fire Safe Regulations, CEQA, and the county's guidelines for determining significance for wildland fire and fire protection. A fire protection plan has been prepared and accepted for the project amendment by San Diego County Fire Authority, which evaluates and identifies the potential fire risk and identifies requirements for water supply, fuel modification, defensible space, access, building ignition and resistance, fire protection systems, and wildfire emergency pre-planning, among other pertinent fire protection criteria. Fuel modification zones will be provided throughout the perimeter of the project site and will meet and exceed the required standard 100-foot fuel modification zone required by the Consolidated Fire Code. Annual inspections and enforcement will be funded by the Homeowners Association and conducted twice annually by a qualified inspector to the satisfaction of the San Diego County Fire Authority to certify that the project's fuel modification zones are maintained. The project amendment includes an additional 147 units for a total of 1,266 units and revised layout. However, the project amendment components to support fire safety are the same as with the approved project. The project amendment, similar to the approved project, is within a portion of the San Diego County Fire Authority's jurisdictional area that is adjacent to the Chula Vista Fire Department response area. The Fire Authority currently operates one nearby fire station in Jamul. The existing Jamul Fire Station is not within the required 5-minute travel time for the Village 14 portion of the project amendment. Travel time to Planning Area 19 is calculated to be less than the 6 minutes from the existing station, which is consistent with the semi-rural designation allowance of up to a 10-minute travel time. The project amendment is required to construct an on-site fire station within Village 14, which will ensure that the entire project will be served within a 5-minute travel time. As interim fire station capable of providing full-service fire, medical, and other emergency response, will be constructed prior to the first occupancy permit and will provide fire and emergency medical services within the required 5-minute travel time. The new permanent fire station will be constructed prior to the 650th home. Fire protection services must be operational within the 5-minute travel time before any homes will be authorized for occupancy. Funding for the ongoing staffing and maintenance of both the interim and permanent fire stations will be established through a community facilities district or other funding mechanism approved by the county. The fire conditions required in the project amendment are the same as the approved project. Concerns were raised regarding the increase in the number of additional cars that will be on the roads during an emergency event. A wildland fire evacuation plan has been prepared for the project amendment, which identifies evacuation routes, evacuation points, and specific measures to keep future residents and employees informed about what to do in the event of an emergency. Although wildland fire and other emergencies are often fluid events and the need for evacuations are typically determined by on-scene first responders or emergency response teams, the plan evaluated the project's impact on emergency evacuation. The San Diego County Fire Authority reviewed the evacuation plan for impacts from the project amendment on the surrounding community. The Fire Authority hired a third-party expert to review the evacuation plan and fire protection plan in addition to the Fire Authority review. Both the Fire Authority and their third-party expert concurred that the project amendment and surrounding community can be evacuated safely. The community HOA will have an outreach and educational role to coordinate with the County Fire Authority, including enforcement of fire-safe landscaping, ensuring implementation of fire safety measures detailed in the fire protection plan, and educating residents on Ready, Set, Go plans. As with the approved project, the primary evacuation route is Proctor Valley Road. Based on the proposed road network, project residents can evacuate using Proctor Valley Road to the southwest to the city of Chula Vista or toward the northeast towards Hamul, depending on the nature of the emergency. Improvements to Proctor Valley Road will enhance evacuation of existing residents of the community of Hamul living west of State Route 94. The project is 1.3 miles from the southern section of Village 14 to Chula Vista and 1/2 mile to the southwest of the community of Hamul. There are approximately 6,000 residents in the Hamul area that currently would not use Proctor Valley Road to evacuate because the road is an existing 2-lane unimproved public road. In the event of an emergency, existing residents would evacuate using State Route 94, with the exception of the homes in the western area of Hamul. The project provides a minimum of 40 feet of fuel modification on Proctor Valley Road to protect residents from entrapment, which will improve existing emergency evacuation for residents of Hamul and Chula Vista, depending on direction of evacuation. The project amendment proposes an additional 147 homes compared to the approved project for a total of 1,266 homes. The additional 147 homes would add approximately 294 vehicles on the road during an evacuation, in addition to the 2,462 vehicles that were projected for the approved project. In total, the project amendment would add an estimated 2,756 additional vehicles to the road during an evacuation. This represents an increase of approximately 13% compared to the approved project and would likely increase the overall evacuation time if every resident and vehicle attempted to evacuate in the same direction at the same time. The Sheriff's Department has reviewed the project amendment and confirmed that given the consolidated project design that reduces the amount of development adjacent to undeveloped land, the proposed fuel modification and type of vegetation surrounding the project, they can evacuate the project safely without endangering lives.
The project amendment proposes an additional 147 homes compared to the approved project for a total of 1,266 homes. The additional 147 homes will result in an increase of 51,244 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions above the approved project, for a total of 558,779 metric tons of GHG emissions. Like the approved project, the project amendment includes sustainable design features that reduce GHG emissions on site by approximately 27%, including zero net energy homes with solar, electric vehicle or EV charging stations installed in half of the residential units, with the other half EV ready, and 10 EV charging stations installed in the commercial area and parks. The project amendment includes a transportation demand management or TDM program that includes carpool, vanpool, rideshare programs, and a school carpool program for future residents. The project amendment also provides a network of multi-use trails, pedestrian network improvements, and bike lanes. The project amendment, like the approved project, proposes fewer residential units than what was approved in the county's general plan for Otay Ranch Village 14 and planning areas 16 and 19. The Climate Action Plan, or CAP, was created using the land uses included in the general plan, including the number of dwelling units allowed. Projects that do not propose more dwelling units than are allowed under the general plan are consistent with the county's CAP and are required only to implement the measures in the CAP consistency review checklist. Both the approved project and project amendment are consistent with the CAP projections and land use assumptions and are not required to mitigate for GHG impacts not anticipated in the general plan and CAP. The project amendment, like the approved project, did not rely on or tier from the CAP or the CAP supplemental environmental impact report. Like the approved project, the project amendment goes beyond the CAP and will reduce GHG emissions to zero through on-site design measures and off-site mitigation, which includes carbon offsets for approximately 73% of the project amendment's GHG emissions. Because the project amendment will mitigate GHG emissions to zero, it will provide more mitigation than required by other general plan consistent projects, which are only required to implement the measures in the CAP consistency review checklist. The project amendment will result in a less than significant impact from GHG emissions. To encourage and promote secondary economic and environmental benefits of GHG emission reductions in San Diego County, while recognizing that GHG impacts are global cumulative impacts, a condition of approval is recommended to be added to the project amendment. This condition would require the applicant to return to the board on the feasibility of providing carbon offsets within San Diego County before use of carbon offsets outside of San Diego County may be used. Because the project amendment is before the board as a revised project to approve with modifications, or deny, the board can require the applicant to return to the board on the feasibility of providing carbon offsets within San Diego County. Recognizing that it may be difficult to achieve 558,779 metric tons of carbon offset reductions within San Diego County, PDS recommends the condition be for the applicant to return to the board on the feasibility of providing carbon offsets for the additional 147 units and their associated increase of 51,244 metric tons of GHG emissions in San Diego County before use of carbon offsets associated with projects outside of the county may be used. The condition recommended by PDS would require the applicant to return to the board on feasibility of carbon offsets within San Diego County prior to issuance of building permits for the last 147 units to provide more time for the applicant to locate carbon offsets within San Diego County. The county received public comments regarding the proposed transportation and traffic studies for the project amendment, including concerns with traffic and road improvements. A traffic impact study was prepared for the project amendment that analyzed the project's potential direct, cumulative, and future traffic impacts. The approved project will result in 12,767 average daily trips. The project amendment's average daily trips are greater than those of the approved project by 195 average daily trips, for a total of 12,962, which represents an increase of 1.5%. An increase of this number of average daily trips will not result in a new significant impact or substantially increase the severity of impacts identified in the approved project final EIR. The approved project had a direct impact at Campa Road, SR 94, and Lyons Valley, which is no longer an impact of the project amendment. At the time of the traffic impact study, the intersection was uncontrolled and operating at a failing level of service. Recent improvements have since been expanded and signalized as part of the Humul Casino mitigation improvements and would no longer be impacted by the project amendment. All traffic impacts from the project amendment are less than significant. The project amendment will also eliminate the proposed access road that connects to Whispering Meadow Lane and Valley Knolls Road that was included in the approved project. The implementation of the dispute resolution agreement with the Wildlife Agency requires Planning Area 16 to be placed into open space and eliminates the need for direct access into Whispering Meadow Lane and Valley Knolls Road. During processing of the original project, the Humul Community Planning Group recommended approval of the project subject to a condition to provide percolation testing in Planning Areas 16 and 19 to determine the suitability for septic prior to connecting to sewer in these areas. These comments were raised again at the Planning Commission hearing on the project amendment. Percolation testing was done as part of the approved project, included that the lots tested did not percolate and sewer service would be required. As a result, sewer will need to be extended as anticipated by the Otay Ranch plan in order to serve the lots in Planning Area 19. All units previously located in Planning Area 16 have been removed in the project amendment. PDS reviewed the certified final EIR for the approved project with the project amendment and determined that no substantial revisions to the EIR are required, and none of the circumstances under which the project amendment would be undertaken are substantially different from those of the approved project. A notice of availability was circulated for a 45-day public review from January 2nd, 2020 to February 17th, 2020, and included the proposed amendment to the specific plan, the vesting revised tentative map, site plan, the EIR addendum, and the updated technical studies. PDS staff attended a Humul Dulzura Community Planning Group meeting on the project amendment on January 14th, 2020 at Oak Grove Middle School in Humul to receive input on the amendment. A total of 7 comment letters were received during public review. The range of comments noted were greenhouse gas emissions, wildland fire and resources, and emergency evacuation. PDS has prepared responses to the concerns raised during public review, which are included in the Staff Planning Commission report. On January 28, 2020, the Humul-Dulzura Community Planning Group held a planning group meeting to discuss the project and considered 2 motions that did not pass because a majority of the community planning members did not support the motions. The community planning group has 15 members, which requires a majority of 8 votes to pass a motion. The first motion was to deny the project amendment, and the vote was 6-5, with 3 members absent and 1 vacant seat. The second motion was to approve the project amendment, and the vote was also 6-5, with 3 members absent and 1 vacant seat. 1 member of the planning group changed their vote from denial to approval based in part on a condition proposed by the planning group that the transportation impact fee is utilized within the planning area. On April 3rd, 2020, the Planning Commission voted 5-1 with one member recused to recommend approval of the project amendment. The project amendment results in a more compact development and reduces the development area by 230 acres and provides a larger, more contiguous preserve with an increase of 311.6 acres to the MSCP preserve. The project amendment will provide additional open space and a range of housing types, including multifamily homes, road improvements, including the improvement of Proctor Valley Road, and a new fire station within the project to serve the project residents and enhance the regional fire operations and resources. Project significant impacts have been mitigated to the extent feasible, and CEQA findings have been prepared, and the project will meet all codes, ordinances, and regulations. PDS concurs with the Planning Commission recommendation and finds that the project is in conformance with federal, state, and county requirements. PDS recommends that the Board of Supervisors find that the CEQA and environmental findings can be made, adopt the specific plan amendment, vesting revised tentative map, site plan, and amendment to the multiple species conservation program. Staff recommends requiring the applicant to enter into the First Amendment to Defense and Indemnification Agreement in accordance with County Code Section 86.201 in the amount of $1 million in the form of an irrevocable letter of credit or bond, and authorize the Director of PDS to execute the agreement. This concludes staff's presentation, and we are available for questions.
Very good. Are there any questions of staff before we go to public testimony?
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of quick questions on the transportation impact fee to be used within the Humboldt community. Is that something that's possible?
Supervisor Jacob through the chair. The transportation impact fee is actually allocated regionally based on the way that the TIF ordinance was set up. So it would be allocated to the South TIF region. It could not be allocated specifically to the Humboldt community, but it would be located within the South region of the TIF program.
Which would be in the area of Humboldt, right?
Which would include Humboldt. That's correct, Supervisor.
Okay. My second question had to do with Proctor Valley Road, as I understand, is going to come out on 94 Melody through Melody Road. It'll go Proctor Valley, then Melody, and that would be where the road would intersect with 94. Is that correct?
Supervisor, that's correct.
And also, as I understand, that as a result of the casino project, there was a signal that was proposed for the tribe to build that as a signalized intersection. The fire station's right across the street from that. Is that still in process, or if staff doesn't know? I know it's not a part of this project requirement, but I think that would be something important to know whether that's going to come about or not, because that eventually would help the traffic flow. So could you check on that while we're listening to public comment and see if that's still something that's on the books, and if Caltrans would support that or not, and get back to us before our deliberations today?
Yes, Supervisor.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions of staff before we get into public testimony? Hearing none, my understanding is we have a group presentation from the applicant, and then what I would propose to do is hear a report from the chair of the Humboldt-Dulzura Planning Group and then we'll get into the public testimony. So if the clerk would go ahead and call up the group presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will note that we received 39 e-comments on this item. We have 28 callers on the line to address the board, including the group presentation. We'll be calling speakers by the last 4 digits of their phone number. You'll hear a notification that your call has been unmuted. Each caller will be asked to state their name for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to address the board. The organized presentation will have 15 minutes. You'll hear this sound when your time is up, and please conclude your comments when you hear that sound. And I would remind the public speakers that they should mute their TV or their live video stream before they begin speaking. So Aaron, if you could please identify the group presentation.
Yes, we'll begin with 5776. And as a reminder, please have all 3 members of the group identify yourselves as part of the presentation. Thank you.
This is James Jackson with the applicant, Jackson Pendo Development Company in Bonita, California.
And this is Rob Cameron, also representing the project applicant.
And this is Liz Jackson with Jackson Pendo Development Company, Bonita, California. And we have a pre-recorded presentation for you here today. Good morning, Chair Cox and members of the Board of Supervisors. I'm Liz Jackson, President of Jackson Pendo Development Company, representing the project applicant. We'd like to take a moment and thank the county and key staff for their dedication and commitment to our San Diego community, particularly during these trying times. Please accept this PowerPoint presentation in lieu of an in-person appearance. As you may recall, the Adara project was approved by the Board of Supervisors in June 2019. So, why are we here? We're here as part of a collaborative process between the county, state, and federal agencies to implement a land exchange and process a project amendment. Last year, discussions with the agencies resulted in an agreement signed by the state, county, and federal officials. This agreement contemplates 3 processes, which we believe will result in a win-win for the entire region. This is because the resulting project amendment consolidates development and expands and enhances the open space preserve. This collaborative effort between a landowner, the county, and multiple resource agencies is truly remarkable. I believe it's the first of its kind, and it deserves your careful consideration. In order to implement this collaborative agreement, 3 processes must be completed. First, Jackson Pendo processes a revised vesting tentative map and specific plan amendment for county consideration. Second, the county processes an amendment to their MSCP sub-area plan for agency consideration. And third, the state processes a land exchange for the state's Wildlife Conservation Board's consideration, which also includes U.S. Fish and Wildlife's consent. It is important to note that the concept of a land exchange is not new. In fact, a version of the land exchange was included as an alternative in the approved project's final EIR. These 3 steps are interdependent and must be completed for this collective solution to materialize. Should any of these processes not succeed, the currently approved Adara project will be implemented. The following brief video describes the project amendment.
For the past 25 years, the 23,000-acre Otay Ranch Master Plan has been the blueprint for thoughtful development in South San Diego County, creating villages to live, play, work, and shop while protecting sensitive habitats and scenic views through an 11,375-acre preserve. Approved as a part of the county's general plan in 1993 and confirmed in the general plan update in 2011, Otay Ranch has been phased from east to west, steadily bringing new neighborhoods, amenities, and public improvements to the region. It's time for the next step, the village of Adara at Otay Ranch. Nestled between the suburbs of eastern Chula Vista and the more rural area of Jamul, Adara is part of the Otay Ranch Master Plan, updated for today's modern and sustainable lifestyle. Adara contains a variety of neighborhoods, public trails, and facilities surrounded by preserved open space. In June 2019, the San Diego County Board of Supervisors approved plans for Adara at Otay Ranch to move forward. Then, in the months that followed, Jackson Pendo Development Company worked collaboratively with county, state, and federal officials on an even better plan for Adara that further benefits the environment and the surrounding communities. The revised plan is facilitated by a land exchange between Jackson Pendo and the state. The currently approved Adara plan includes 3-acre ranchettes near Hamul and a mix of traditionally sized lots south of the village core. The state of California owns property adjacent to Adara's village core that is approved in the county's general plan for a variety of housing, including a multifamily site. Under this collaborative effort, these properties will be exchanged and development consolidated closer to the village core. Preserved open space will be increased by over 300 acres, leading to an enhanced and better connected open space preserve. The revised plan is also more readily fire defensible. Wildland interface edge will be reduced by 13 linear miles, and there's less development acreage to protect, resulting in reduced fire exposure. While equally as safe, the revised Adara plan results in a more efficient use of fire resources. Additionally, the improved Adara plan has been endorsed by CAL FIRE 2881 and the Deputy Sheriff's Association of San Diego County. Large acre ranchettes will be replaced with more affordably priced homes, allowing hardworking families to live closer to existing South County job centers, reducing commutes and benefiting the environment. And the other great community plan elements of the approved Adara plan still remain in place. A 4.5-mile pathway along Proctor Valley Road, a 2-mile park-to-park pedestrian loop, a 2-mile perimeter trail and an off-street paseo, 22 acres of new parks, traffic calming features, a new elementary school site, and a new fire station and sheriff's storefront. And the best part is the revised Adara remains consistent with the county's general plan. This collaborative effort resulted in a revised Adara plan that is even better for our region and is a win-win for all. It's better for the environment. It's better for working families. It reduces demand on fire resources, and it's consistent with the county general plan. It truly is a better plan for Adara.
This slide presents the approved plan and the project amendment side by side. As you saw in the video, the land exchange consolidates development in Village 14 by including the state lands located within the heart of the village. It's important to note that the state's land is already approved for development in the Otay Ranch GDP SRP, the 2011 County General Plan, and it is designated as hardline development footprint in the MSCP. I'd like to emphasize that the previously approved project and this project amendment are both entirely consistent with the County General Plan. While the approved project is a great project, the project amendment is even better. Here's why. It results in a larger, more consolidated MSCP preserve, adding 300 additional acres to the MSCP. It improves connectivity and wildlife movement and creates a more efficient preserve design with 13.1 miles less development edge. So it's even better for the environment. It includes 150 multifamily and smaller sized homes concentrated in and around the village core instead of large acre ranchettes. In fact, 60% of the Village 14 homes in Adara will meet the attainable housing needs for a family of 4. This isn't the backcountry. Adara is located adjacent to East Lake and Rolling Hills Ranch and closer to the existing planned job centers in South County, helping to reduce commute times. So, it's even better for working families. As mentioned previously, the project amendment has 13.1 linear miles less development edge. That's a 70% reduction in wildland interface. The consolidated development footprint creates a more readily defensible community and allows for a more efficient use of fire resources. Adara will fund and construct an on-site county fire station and sheriff's storefront. This is a regional benefit that improves emergency response times for neighboring communities. A fire services agreement is in place to ensure funding for both the fire station and for annual staffing and operations. The project amendment is consistent with both the County General Plan and the Otay Ranch Master Plan. These documents represent nearly 25 years of work, millions of public and private dollars invested, vast public review, and many difficult decisions made along the way. We have heard repeatedly from the public to build the County General Plan, and the project amendment does so. Adara was designed to implement the Otay Ranch Master Plan, which incorporates the village concept. compact development, active lifestyle, fully sustainable, infrastructure and facilities that meet the needs of new residents and benefit the surrounding communities. And Adara offers a full range of housing types, including townhomes, courtyard and small homes, traditional single-family homes, and even a few estates. The project amendment brings many positive economic benefits to the region, including $1.1 million annually to the county general fund, $3 million towards a new fire station, and $1 million in annual operating funds, more than 275 new jobs, and $5.5 million in traffic improvement fees. That is why the Adara project has been endorsed by the East County Chamber of Commerce, the East County EDC, San Diego Regional Chamber, and the Chula Vista Chamber of Commerce. The project amendment before you today supports many of the county goals and priorities. I want to highlight a particularly important point here. We are a net zero energy community by choice, and I say by choice because Adara is already consistent with the county general plan. So again, why are we here? We have an approved project. The choice before you today is rather straightforward. Stick with the plan you approved in June 2019, or approve the project amendment. While we believe the approved project is a great plan, we also believe the project amendment is even better. We hope you see the project amendment as we do, a win-win for the entire region. Today we have presented for your consideration a revised housing project. I, like most San Diegans, have forged a new relationship with my home during this pandemic. More than ever, San Diego needs housing. We need a place to seek comfort, care, and solace, a place to teach our children, to telecommute if we can, to cook 3 meals a day, do laundry, dishes, rinse, and repeat. An adequate housing supply has taken on an even more meaningful role. We ask you today to bring more housing to our San Diego families, housing that is consistent with the county general plan. We ask for your support in this collaborative process with the agencies, and we ask you to approve the revised tentative map and specific plan amendment. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration.
Thank you. Did the applicants have anything else to add before we move on to the other speakers?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is the Hamul Planning Group Chair, 1434.
Yes, good morning. My name is Dan Nerinx. I am the chair of the Hamul Del Zorro Community Planning Group. And good morning, Chairman Cox and the other members of the board. The comments I have are very short, primarily as noted before by PDS. The planning group has 3 vacant seats, which is making it a difficult item to make amendments to our original objections to the project. So I will just do those and then I will go on. The original recommendation remains and is a conditional recommendation. The planning group, 2 major concerns and conditions of recommendation for the Village 14 and PA 16 and 19 remain unchanged. The need for off-site road safety improvements within the village core area of Hamul, and secondly, the objections to sewer in PA 16 and 19. That's basically our position and has been. The position has not been to say that the project is unacceptable in its entirety, but it does have items that can improve its viability for the existing community of Hamul Del Zorro. And that ends the presentation from the chair. I also have a request for a presentation as a private citizen, not as a member of the board. Awaiting. Thank you.
Do you want to continue with that at this time?
That's up to the board if that's appropriate.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Yep, the chairman is asking you to please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, my name is Dan Nerinx. I live in Hamul and been here for 30-some years. The March 2020 report by the Road and Associates for the San Diego County Fire Authority brings out pertinent observations that need serious and attention and further review by the BOS prior to any action to approve this project. Secondly, highly recommend the elimination of all PA 1913 sites and designation of PA 19 as open space for the preserve. Second, some of the project TIF, third, some of the project TIF money should be designated for improved pedestrian safety along Proctor Valley Road from the project to SR 94, concurrent with project build out. It should also be noted that the sewer proposed for project 19 extends the sewer and a lift station almost 1 mile for only 13 units. This is just crazy to do this. It is better to use the PA 19 acreage as additional buffer for the preserve from the existing Echo Valley community of Hamul. And that completes my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is going to be Dan Silver. He's asked us to show a slide during his testimony. So just one moment, Dan, while we bring up that slide, and then we'll let you know when you can proceed. Okay, Dan. Dan, if you want to go ahead and proceed. Hold on. Yeah. Actually, we're going to try bringing this up on a different screen. One moment. I believe Dan may have dropped off the call, so we're going to go on to the next speaker, and then we'll let you know when he rejoins the call. So our next speaker is going to be 0165. Dan, if you want to go ahead and proceed. 0165. Actually, we're going to try bringing this up on a different screen. One moment. Let's move on to 0180.
Hello?
Hello there. Could you please state your name? You can proceed with your testimony.
Okay. Hi, this is Becky Cortez. I'm a resident of Rolling Hills Ranch in Chula Vista, California. And it's an honor to be speaking on behalf of the Adara and Otay Ranch project. I am a very excited and pleased resident living in a project that they built here in Otay Ranch. And we've lived here for over 10 years, and I love my home and I love my community. I strongly support Adara and Otay Ranch because this project will bring benefits to the surrounding communities as well as residents of Adara. Some of the benefits include preserving our open space, building more housing, and increasing fire safety for the area. Though this project brings several benefits, I want to reiterate that the meaning of home has drastically changed during the challenges we are currently facing. Due to the current health crisis taking place in our community, we have all been spending more time at home. Home is now a symbol of health and resilience. It's also a place that we can retreat to when times are hard. Homes are now a place where we not only raise our families, but we now have to work from home and have our gyms at home as well. We know that our communities are growing stronger and more resilient when we have a place where we can have our busy lives while staying safe and comfortable. Adara at Otay Ranch offers homes that can serve these purposes. I appreciate your time and consideration and allowing me to speak and to support Adara and their Otay Ranch project, and to considering this and request that you vote to recommend approval of this project. And again, I can't thank Adara and Otay Ranch, Liz and Pinto Jackson, for what they're doing for our community. And I am 100% supportive for any questions that you may have as a resident. Please feel free to reach out.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is 0605.
Good morning. My name is John Boot. I live at 785 River Rock Road, Chula Vista, California, in the Rolling Hills Ranch development, which is adjacent to Adara. And I'm speaking this morning in support of the project. I was on the Chula Vista Planning Commission when the Otay Ranch was annexed into the city of Chula Vista. And later on the Chula Vista City Council, I was part of the master planning of the East Lake area and all the eastern portions of Chula Vista. The Adara project is entirely consistent with what was envisioned for this part of the city of Chula Vista. It is consistent with everything we wanted to do when we were planning the Eastern Territories, and other projects built by this particular developer have been among the best that are in Eastern Chula Vista. The walking trails have become increasingly popular in this new age of COVID-19 for people needing to get out of their homes and walk around. And this project continues this effort that was shown in the other projects built by this particular developer. I'm very supportive of the project. We all need more homes, and these are quality homes which will benefit the residents in the area, and I'm highly supportive of the project. I don't think the amendment materially differs from what the board approved previously, and I would ask that you approve the project. Thank you.
Thank you. It looks like Dan Silver has just called back, so we're going to try to go back to him at this time.
And I would just remind all the callers that have called in to mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking.
So Dan, if you'd like to proceed, your slide is now ready to go and is up on the screen at the board meeting.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate this. Dan Silver, Endangered Habitats League, Chairman Cox, members of the board. Decisions must be fact-based. You must not remain ignorant. Yet, the county has stricken from the Wildland Fire Plan all sections on emergency evacuation. The amount of time needed to evacuate, it's no longer there. Instead of correcting flaws, someone has determined that it's better you don't even know. Indeed, any statement that casts doubt over public safety has been expunged. Quote, it may not be possible to move large numbers of persons at the same time. Deleted. Quote, this does not include additional allowances for time needed for fire response. Deleted. Quote, the identified safety zones may not be feasible. Deleted. Shamefully, the third-party review of fire issues was withheld from the public and maybe from the board. It is now falsely described as validating fire safety. In fact, the review confirms that traffic congestion would make a speedy mass evacuation impossible, and that thousands of residents would be entrapped as a raging firestorm bears down on their families and their fleeing vehicles. And the frightening fact that, quote, no community in California has been directed to shelter in place during a wildland fire, unquote, was deleted from the EIR. The review also confirms that simultaneous evacuation by existing Humboldt residents was not analyzed. Is this human error or is it malfeasance? One picture tells the story. Here are locations along the sole evacuation route that would operate under conditions of gridlock. This is not at the peak of evacuation. This is before evacuation even starts. Is the fire authority going to levitate fleeing vehicles? The only thing that may be levitating is the souls of men, women, and children. It is now time to face the facts about evacuation failure, facts that are now impossible to brush aside. In a time of ever worsening fire catastrophe, to knowingly and in advance approve a development that your own experts have told you cannot be safely evacuated is unconscionable. A fire trap must be denied. Your vote on public safety will be remembered, but will it be remembered as a badge of dishonor or as a badge of courage? Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0780.
Good morning, Chair Cox, Supervisors. My name is Doug Hicks, and I'm a member of the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters. I'm a resident of San Diego County. I live, work, and recreate in the vicinity of the project. I believe that I will be negatively impacted by the environmental impacts of this project. We oppose the project. The use of an addendum rather than a fully revised environmental impact report violates CEQA, since the current project proposed is completely different from the original approved project, since it's increased the number of housing units as well as modifies the project footprint, violating CEQA's requirements that a project maintain a stable and finite project description throughout the entirety of its environmental review process. The addendum concedes that the project will have new, significant, and more severe air quality, greenhouse gas, and transportation impacts compared to the original approved projects, requiring revision and recirculation. Finally, the project violates the San Diego General Plan since it fails to provide any affordable housing and is inconsistent with the Multiple Species Conservation Plan. That concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0887.
Yes, this is Jo Marie Diamond. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, County Supervisors, Chairman Cox. My name is Jo Marie Diamond, and I serve as President and CEO for the East County Economic Development Council. East County EDC's members are excited about the new housing options ADARA will provide. East County EDC's board acted to support the original plan in 2019 and voted again in March 2020 to support the revised plan for ADARA at Otay Ranch. Independent of the severe impact of COVID-19 on the economy, East County and all of San Diego County will recover and rebound from these setbacks. When that does happen, we need housing options for the region's workers. The proposed community is not urban sprawl or backcountry development. It is entirely consistent with the county general plan. In addition, the ongoing demand for housing has not diminished. East County EDC has engaged with many, many developers over the years. It is commendable how the ADARA developers worked with different agencies to come to an agreement. They have collaborated to make these planning areas work for everyone. We need this type of teamwork to create more housing and to develop responsibly. East County wants to do its part in welcoming new homes to help solve our region's housing shortage. We need all types of housing. On behalf of the East County EDC, its board and members, I urge you to approve ADARA at Otay Ranch today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 1008. You may proceed. If not, we'll move on to 1605.
Good morning. My name is David Leonardi. I'm the president of the Deputy Sheriff's Association of San Diego County. Our organization represents more than 2,500 deputy sheriffs serving the communities throughout the San Diego County region. Today, I'd like to express our support for the revised plan for ADARA at Otay Ranch. We applaud the revised plan for ADARA because it will improve public safety both within this community and in surrounding neighborhoods. The community's village core will contain a new sheriff's storefront that will be a valuable resource to benefit residents and serve as a critical role to help first responders in the event of an emergency. We also support the revised ADARA at Otay Ranch because it includes even more homes that are affordably priced for first responders and their families. Adara will help ensure our deputies and other first responders can live closer to the communities they put their lives on the line to protect. The Deputy Sheriff's Association of San Diego County is proud to support the revised Adara at Otay Ranch. We urge you to move this important project forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 2847.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Lieberman, and I'm speaking on behalf of the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce, whose mission is to make the San Diego region the best place to live and work. We are committed to ensuring that our region has enough housing for our workforce. Adara at Otay Ranch is an important project that is consistent with the county's general plan and the Otay Ranch Master Plan. The Chamber supports this project because it will add more housing to the region to support our workforce. The Chamber recently published a study about our region's commuters. It found that a staggering amount of our workforce commutes from Riverside County to jobs in San Diego. In fact, the study found that more than 54,000 people make this commute every single day, generating, at least pre-COVID, generating significant regional traffic and environmental impacts. More homes in San Diego County would help people live in communities where they work. Adara at Otay Ranch is one solution. The Chamber also applauds how this revised plan increases the number of homes for families, bringing the total to 1,266. For these reasons, I urge you to support the revised plan for Adara at Otay Ranch. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 4088.
Supervisors. Good morning, County Supervisors. My name is Amy Spear, and I'm a resident of East County. I'm also a local real estate agent, and I am extremely concerned about the significant lack of housing inventory in San Diego County. So many of my friends and colleagues and clients are seriously considering leaving San Diego, and many of these people serve in critical positions to keep our community safe. Firefighters, police officers, and other first responders can no longer afford to live in San Diego, and they are enduring long commutes from Murrieta, Temecula, Riverside, and other places just to work in San Diego and to protect our families. We need you to support housing projects in San Diego, to keep working families to continue to live in this region. So I urge you to support Adara at Otay Ranch, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 4313.
Good morning, Honorable Chairman Greg Cox, Board of Supervisors and staff. My name is Lisa Cohen. I'm the CEO of the Chula Vista Chamber of Commerce and the Chula Vista Convention Visitors Bureau. I'm speaking in support of Otay Ranch Village 14 Amendment, otherwise known as the revised plan for Adara at Otay Ranch. The Chula Vista Chamber voted to endorse this project when it originally approved in 2019. The proposed amendments and land exchange will make Adara an even better neighbor to South County and existing job centers. In the Chula Vista and Otay Mesa areas, there are estimated 80,438 jobs. Sandag expects this number of South County to grow by 83% by 2050. This means that the time to bring more housing to the region is more important than ever. I respectfully urge the Board of Supervisors for unanimous approval to support Adara and this important community today on behalf of our board directors and staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 4477.
Good morning, County Supervisors, and thank you for your time and your dedication. My name is Mary Chaparro, and I am a native San Diegan. I've been here for almost 55 years, and I am calling in today to voice my support for the revised plan for Adara at Otay Ranch. And I myself am a fellow realtor and share a lot of the same items that Amy Spears shared earlier. And I I'm in San Diego County and in San Diego, and I am very well aware that housing here has been extremely challenging due to our high home prices and unaffordable rents, but we have got to provide homes to continue helping our San Diego families. And I work with families daily that need housing and in our community. And I've also known Liz and Jim Jackson for over 30 years now. And these two with Jackson Pendo are extremely committed to developing an excellent project and neighborhood that will create attainable housing and great affordability. And more importantly, the development is in accordance with the San Diego County General Plan, which I really think is important to look at. I began my career back in '85 and with the Baldwin Company. And if you look at what North City West has become, that was 40,000 units, now known as Carmel Valley. And that neighborhood development was so opposed at that point. And you ask any of those residents now today, it's a wonderful community, a great place to live. I think looking at some of these communities, we want to support them. And you, as our elected officials, I am pleading with you and calling on you to please support this responsible development, the collaboration behind it. And I really think in years to come, everybody will benefit from this development. So thank you so much for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 4829.
Good morning, County Supervisors, Chairman Cox. My name is John Shikui, owner of Stormwater Pros. I'm a San Diego County resident and supporter of the improvements proposed for the Adara Otay Ranch community. Living in San Diego County can be challenging due to really high home prices and unaffordable rents. I know a lot of young people are certainly feeling the pressure of finding a reasonably priced place to live. And the great thing about Adara is that the majority of the homes will be attainable for working families who are trying to live and work in South County. And for these reasons, and for those of us that know the burden of finding housing in San Diego, I ask that you support this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 5123.
Good morning, County Supervisors, Chairman Cox. This is Sasan Rahimzadeh of Aria Cleaners. I reside right here in Eastlake in Chula Vista, and my business is also right here in Eastlake. So I can tell you that I would be directly affected by this project in a very positive way in all ways. I have strongly support the Adara, the revised plan for Adara at Otay Ranch. And as a business owner, I am concerned about my employees and their ability to be able to find housing near their work, affordable housing near their work. And I absolutely believe that Adara will do that in so many different ways. And frankly, the Pendo Jackson team has been so involved over the last few years in their input that they've requested from the community. And that's been so impressive to me. And I have seen those changes that they have applied to their project as the community has needed it. And so that is one factor. The fact that they also live right here in South County in a very, in Bonita, which is very close to their project itself. So I'm sure as local residents, they would want to have their own community to be as well built as possible. And I frankly wish all other developers would have the same feeling towards it. So I feel very strongly about their positive impact on this project. And I also think that Adara creates a very a much needed link, communal link between South County and East County. Over the years, we've had quite a disconnect, and I think Adara would, by simply being able to create a place of residence, a place of gathering for quite a few, to connect these two communities much better than we've ever been before. So for all of those reasons and quite a few more, including, of course, everything else that all the other speakers have mentioned as far as being able to create more housing units in San Diego County as a whole and creating more affordable housing, I would urge you to please approve the revised plan for Adara at Otay Ranch. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 5672.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Janet Mulder, and I'm the Secretary of the Home Rule Area Community Planning Group, but speaking today as an individual. First of all, may I take this opportunity to thank your board for naming me one of your Community Volunteers of the Year. I appreciate your sending me the medal and plaque. Today, I am concerned that the board's decision to approve this village in January was made without full facts regarding the wildfire evacuation. Please remember that this project is wholly included within the very high fire hazard severity zone as designated by the County of San Diego. Having read the road report, which we did not get until very recently, we're reminded of past large fires which took place in this location, including Laguna Fire of 1970, which burned nearby, and the Harris Fire of 2007, which burned 100% of this project site. It's important to note that our planning group did not get the information in time to be reflected in our discussion on the PPA, and it is disturbing at best that there are so many edits to the original document, deleting information we think your board counted on. It seems to us that the county had the responsibility to distribute the roads report in a more timely manner. We just received it last Friday. The roads report identifies problems in the Dudick study upon which your board counted in your prior decision. For example, in the Dudick study, their traffic demand estimates assumed that only Otay Ranch Village 14 and planning area 16 and 19 traffic would be using Proctor Valley Road as an evacuation route. This ignored the fact that the Homel community and other existing and planned communities would also use Proctor Valley Road to evacuate in the event of a wildfire. In addition, ambient traffic, not evacuation related, would also likely be on Proctor Valley Road when an emergency is declared and evacuation commences. They also failed to take into consideration possible fire evacuation traffic from Hamul, including the Hamul Casino. Therefore, the analysis ignored the congested traffic problems, a very serious flaw. In the revised, as of March 20, WFEP, all of the sections that specifically address evacuation from the PPA were deleted or heavily edited, including, and I quote, Village 14 and Planning Area 16 and 19 evacuation procedures, unquote, which was edited to remove any meaningful reference to the feasibility of evacuating the PPA, including references to the results of the previously provided evacuation time estimates. If I were in your shoes, I would be concerned that all of this material, which was presented to your board before you voted to approve the PPA, was deleted from the Dudick report, which your board counted on in your position. Recognizing the many deletions and changes, don't you feel you need more time for study of this 36-page report, which we received last week? I would urge you to postpone your decision on this project plan amendment, giving you and your staffs time to absorb all the new information. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 5806.
Good morning, County Supervisors. My name is Ben Stone, and I am the Trails Coordinator for the San Diego Mountain Biking Association. The San Diego Mountain Biking Association is a volunteer-driven nonprofit organization dedicated to maintaining and improving sustainable trail access for mountain biking in San Diego County. Over the last several years, we have been working closely with Jackson Pendo. They have continued to meet with us, update us on really every change, listen to our feedback around trails, and always done their best to accommodate that feedback and make changes where possible. We are very supportive of the trails that are proposed within the project in front of you today. And I would also like to add that, from looking at the two different projects and being very familiar with them in the area, I personally like the project that's brought forward more than the one I spoke in favor of previously. And so thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 7356.
Good morning, Chairman Cox and members of the board. First, may I say thank you to you and your staff for providing this method of opportunity to comment during these trying times with regard to isolation. My name is Glenn Revelle. I am retired from the San Diego County Sheriff's Department, and I have been a resident of Hamul for the past 9 years. I strongly support the revised plan for Adara at Otay Ranch. The residents of Hamul have been involved in updates to the San Diego County Plan and Otay Ranch Master Plan. The plan has created a thoughtful framework for development in South San Diego County. Hamul residents are keenly aware of the Adara at Otay Ranch community since the general plan was developed back in 1993. Adara is consistent with appropriate expectations and currently represents a small fraction of the units that were planned for the area originally. I was supportive of Adara at Otay Ranch when the project first came to the Planning Commission in 2018. Now Jackson Pendo has worked collaboratively with the state to make further improvements to the project. Here in Hamul, we are well aware that wildfires are a constant and serious threat to public safety in our area. I've been personally involved in the evacuation of small segments of this community during the 03 and 07 fires. The Adara at Otay Ranch project has committed to increasing fire resources for Hamul. The increased resources and reduced project footprint will help to mitigate the risk to rural residents and to assist the County of San Diego in combating future wildfires. Jackson Pendo is a local developer with a solid track record. They have spent time in our community and listened to our concerns while amending and improving their plan based on our input. I am expressing my support for the plan. I urge you to support PDS recommendations and vote to approve the project. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 8388.
Hello, good morning, County Supervisors. My name is Linda Menashe, and I'm in support of Adara at Otay Ranch. I support the revised plan for Adara at Otay Ranch because it'll provide advanced public safety standards and benefit all of South County, in addition to creating homes and open space. The new fire station will serve Adara at Otay Ranch and surrounding communities, making the region safer in the event of an emergency. In addition, our county simply needs more homes. We need more than ever to keep families living and working in San Diego County. Families need a home where they can both live and work. I recently read that 1 in 4 workers want to return to the workplace once COVID-19 restrictions are lifted. I myself have 2 sons in their late 20s, and they will more than likely work from the house as well. I want them to have the opportunity to own their own home and have lots of options. These homes that we have become our offices too, and we need a better supply in San Diego County to help our families. For these reasons, I strongly support Adara at Otay Ranch for the housing it'll bring to the region. I encourage you to do the same. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 8569.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great, thank you. Chairman Cox, County Supervisors, thank you for the opportunity to comment. My name is Frank Landis, and I'm the Conservation Chair of the San Diego Chapter of the California Native Plant Society. There are issues with the way wildfire, native plant issues, and greenhouse gases were dealt with in the project amendment. I urge you to vote no and to request a supplemental EIR to solve these problems raised before you make a final decision. There are 3 issues that should have triggered a supplemental EIR but did not. First is wildlife risk, as you've heard. Based on Appendix 2, page 181 in the project amendment, the revised design concentrates development in the part of the project that burned most frequently. This increase in danger should have triggered a supplemental EIR, but it didn't. Worse, the project amendment omits critical information that was present in the first EIR, including the fire services operational assessment by road associates. Missing information shows that under ideal conditions, it would take 1.5 hours to evacuate the project into Chula Vista or about 2 miles per hour in traffic. Realistically, it will take much longer. A wind-driven fire would move at 3 to 20 miles per hour, depending on the wind. The buildings are not designed for shelter in place, and no one is sure that there's enough parking lots for open shelters in the development. Like a coronavirus pandemic, Village 14 burning is a predictable disaster. Why is the planning for it so deficient? Second, the cumulative impacts of native plants and vegetation were not properly analyzed. As I commented on the original EIR, the botanists would have had to jog 40 miles a day for 5 days straight through Chaparral to do the rare plant surveys they said they did, all the while mapping tiny plants and identifying them with a hand lens. This is not physically possible. I'm a botanist. You've read letters from EHL and Rob Hamilton reporting about how bad the vegetation mapping is, an observation I agree with from seeing the site. The problems are obvious from the road. You need adequate data on which to decide, and that lack should have triggered a supplemental EIR. The third issue is that the revised project design, because it is smaller, provided an opportunity to substantially reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the building and operating the project. This opportunity to substantially reduce impact should have triggered a supplemental EIR per CEQA 15162, but the applicant failed to do so. Additionally, in keeping with the original analysis, the project appears to be in jeopardy under Judge Taylor's ruling on the County Climate Action Plan by using 73% of the mitigation as offsite mitigation. And note, these are supposed to be net zero, but they're still piping in natural gas for cooking, so they haven't gotten the idea that it has to be all renewable energy and no gas. Therefore, I submit that the document in front of you is incomplete. You do not have enough information to determine if the revised project is more or less problematic than the original was. That's why you need to vote no and ask for a supplemental EIR. And finally, I'll note that I live in Carmel Valley, I'm spending thousands to upgrade my fire safety on my home because I cannot count on evacuating out Highway 56, which, as I think most of you know, is permanently jammed and will be even worse during an evacuation. And I really would hate to see the people in Village 14 or Adara, or whatever you want to call it, get stuck in my situation. Thank you very much for taking my comments.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 8771.
Hello.
Hi there, we can hear you.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Daryl Brady. I'm a resident of El Cajon, and I'm in full support of the revised Adara at Otay Ranch plan that you're considering today. I've been a resident of San Diego since my parents moved here in 1968, and I'm one of 5 kids my parents raised in San Diego. All of my siblings still live in the county. I'd like to retire here and spend my golden years watching my 4 sons raise their kids, which I have 7 grandkids that live in the San Diego area. But sadly, many of my family members are leaving and moving to places like Riverside County, Arizona, and Texas in search of affordable housing. Right now, I'm not sure if I can afford to retire here, and all of my sons are not sure if they can afford to buy houses. And even though they all make decent livings. The Adara Ranch plan gives me hopes that my sons and I will be able to stay in San Diego, and I hope you'll approve this plan to give our family a chance to stay together through another generation. And I believe it is consistent with the master plan. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 9207.
Hi, my name is Cassandra Nestoroff, and I have been a resident of San Diego for over 22 years. I also work in all of San Diego. I'm calling in support of the proposed changes for Adara at Otay Ranch. Now, more than ever, we need more homes. There's a housing shortage. We can see that now with us all being at home, living at home, working out at home. We need more healthy homes for all these working families. I also have 2 older children that will be buying homes soon, and I hope that they are able to afford and stay in San Diego. I just hope that you join in this collaborative effort and approve the revised plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 9705.
Good morning, County Supervisors. My name is Shelley Stevenson. I'm a San Diego County resident and a business owner for 25 years. I am a supporter of the improvements, the proposed improvements for the Adara at Otay Ranch community. And I really believe these improvements will bring many more needed homes to the region and preserve more open space around our community to be shared by all. It is commendable that Jackson Pendo is collaborating with these different agencies to make an even better plan for this community. Also, I'm aware that this community will be built following the San Diego County General Plan, which should be reorganized and recognized. For these reasons, I applaud these efforts and urge you to approve these changes. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0165.
Hello?
Hi there. Could you please say
Hello?
your name and then you can...
Can you hear me?
We can.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, I think.
Hello?
So this is the person who's on the delay. So we
Yes,
can
hello.
hear
Can you hear me?
You'll hear us in about 45 seconds.
Hello. How much time do I have?
You'll have 3 minutes.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Could you state
You'll hear
your
me
name
and
for us,
I can.
please?
Preston Brown.
You may proceed.
My name is Preston Brown. I'm a member of the Humboldt Zurich Planning Committee group, and today I'm speaking as an individual. My question first, hearing the supporters, is would you want your families to buy a home in an area where the planning, where the county planners have sold and suppressed information to the board, which is, I feel, what is happening here today. This proposed plan amendment is a new EIR with no deal with the Wildlife Conservation Board. It needs to be put out to public review, or this process is a farce. To all of the supporters of this project that I've listened to, did you read any of the EIR? The fire studies, the evacuation reports, their support is all spam and pablum for this Board of Supervisors right now. In our regular meeting last week, I asked the county planners, Gregory Matson and Mark Slovic, why the MSCP deal was being submitted as an amendment when it had not been approved. On June 26, 2019, the Board of Supervisors approved a strange deal that set goals for a negotiation between the Wildlife Conservation Board and the applicant for Village 14 for a personal arrangement. Greg Cox, who has taken us down the memory lane to acquaint us with the grand bargain of the villages of the Baldwin Agreement in his district, has granted special dispensations, exclusions, and privileges to Village 14 that none of the other villages had asked for or been granted. My question to everybody is, who is in charge of the game? Is it Mark Wardlaw or the Board of Supervisors? County housing projects continually fail in the courts of public opinion, public amendments, and the legal courts. Last night, our planning group debated for 2 hours the government procedural policies for the CEQA process. The editing privileges of the county versus are we dealing with an entirely new EIR to address, approve, or reject, or do we reject the wildland fire evacuation plan by itself, which is 50% has been deleted? Most confusing was the contradiction of messages between the CAL FIRE and the San Diego County Fire Authority. CAL FIRE Chief Meacham made statements that completely contradicted the conclusions and warnings from the road report that was suppressed by the county, that was commissioned by the San Diego County Fire Authority. This report only surfaced this Friday on May 29th. County staff had it on March 11th. Project approval has become a game for the county staff to sell to the BOF. This erodes government ethics, corrupts the process, and degrades public trust.
Mr. Brown, you may not hear us yet, but your time has ended, so we really appreciate your testimony, and we're going to move on to the next caller. The next one is 1008. 1008.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Shannon Tarbell, and I am proud to support the Adara Otay Ranch project because it creates the type of community that my family, my friends, and I would love to live in. We need more communities that provide homes at all income levels, as well as the type of open areas, pathways, trails, parkways that are in this community. With everyone staying at home due to the current public health crisis taking place in our communities, we now more than ever have a greater appreciation for our homes and a greater need for homes and communities. Not only is it a place for us to sleep at night and spend time with our family, friends, neighbors, and loved ones, but home is now our workplace, our gym, our childcare facility, and everything else that we can fit inside it. And it's the place where we spend more time than ever, and it's more important than ever. We need an ample supply of homes for our communities to make San Diego County stronger and a better place to live and thrive. I hope that you will approve this updated plan for Adara at Otay Ranch to benefit our local families and communities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 5888.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Hi, County Supervisors and Chairman Cox, I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. My name is Nicole Weinman, and I'm speaking in support of the Adara project. I run a business here in San Diego. I have roughly 90 employees, and they are all at different income levels, and we are struggling to keep employees, hire new employees, because there's not sufficient housing. We're losing them to Riverside, we're losing them to Temecula. In some cases, we're losing them to El Centro and Yuma. The bottom line is we need more housing, and Adara offers that. It's responsible growth, it's environmentally responsible, there's open space, the fact that there is the ability for all income levels to live in one community gives a move-up opportunity. The bottom line is we have got to have housing, and we have to have it now. And I understand and am sympathetic to everyone and their concerns, but the bottom line is I'm a native San Diegan, and I've never seen it like this. I've been here for 47 years, and we just aren't making progress on the housing front. We have to have options. We have to have them at all levels, and we need to have them now. And I believe that Adara and the amended plan offer that. And I strongly recommend that you approve this project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 4499.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. Thank you. This is Patrick Walker. I'm the Vice President of Cal Fire Firefighters Local 2881. And I also happen to be a resident at 704 River Rock Road in Chula Vista at the Rolling Hills Ranch community, which I moved to, and I feel is a very safe community for myself and my family. Gone countless days and hours combating wildfires and other emergencies. I represent several hundred firefighters for Cal Fire in San Diego County, professional firefighters of San Diego County Fire. I called in today to share my support of the revised plan for Adara at Otay Ranch because it will provide critically needed, hold on one second.
I think you may
It'll provide critically needed homes priced for first responders. Many of our members live far from San Diego due to the housing crisis and need to commute far distances to work. Adara helps ensure our firefighters can live closer to the communities they put their lives in or on the line to protect. The revised plan also provides improved fire defensibility for new and surrounding communities. This is due to the consolidated development of 70% reduction on wildland interface. The revised plan also includes improvements to Proctor Valley Road. Proctor Valley Road needs to be improved for a number of reasons. I believe it's much safer in this new revised plan. I urge you to support the revised plan for Adara at Otay Ranch today. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final caller is 2809.
Yes, this is Dr. Peter Anderson. I'm a 30-year resident of Hamul, and I represent the 30,000 supporters of Sierra Club San Diego. Thank you, Supervisors, and I hope you listen carefully to these final comments. Approving this today is premature. First of all, the Wildlife Conservation Board does not meet and approve this project till August 26. One would think you'd want to hear their testimony before you approved or disapproved this project. Secondly, it was shocking to see the new revised EIR, which had deleted most of the fire report and most of the evacuation material. Third, the road report states, and I'll quote, "The updated evacuation plan has not been prepared by the project." So until we get an evacuation plan that's prepared by the project, it's approved, you really shouldn't consider this. Finally, there is the road report was just released last weekend. I doubt if most of you supervisors have had a chance to read it. I had to do a pretty quick cram to be able to read this on Monday and Tuesday. And I will, in a few minutes, I'll quote from this road report. That violates due process and proper notice when we've got a fire report that's an independent report that was commissioned to provide an objective report by the developer, it should be carefully considered. But since I suspect many of the public don't know what a fire trap this is, and maybe some of the supervisors don't, I'm going to quote from the road report itself. They say in the road report that this area has burned 17 times in history, the exact area of the project, including the latest one with the Harris fire in 2007. This project is capable, and I quote, of generating 30 to 85-foot flames all around the project. Spot fires are particularly problematic. These are all quotes from the road report. Terrain has the potential to accelerate fire behavior. They say the updated evacuation plan has not been prepared by the project. This report does not support the possibility of sheltering in place, even though they say that might be necessary. It shows a fire-resistant home burning during the Witch Fire in 2007. So I hope these residents that I understand their need for housing aren't going to condemn residents to a real wildfire fire trap here. Finally, I want to address the MSCP swap. MSCP lands are supposed to be preserved in perpetuity. Now, they claim that they're going to swap this for some other land that will be preserved in perpetuity. But every time you violate a previously preserved area, it makes the claim that these are really preserved areas it makes that claim very shallow. We can't go on continuously swapping out land. So because of fire risk, because of bad procedures, you should at least delay consideration, if not reject this amendment altogether. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that concludes public testimony on this item, Chairman Cox.
Okay, thank you. I sincerely appreciate all of the comments that we've heard today on this item. I know that there's a variety of opinions in regards to any development project, and this one is certainly not immune from those differing opinions. I have a couple of questions I wanted to raise before I get into making a motion, and I would direct the first question I have towards Tony Meacham, who I believe is in the board chambers, who is, of course, our CAL FIRE chief. A number of questions have been raised today in public testimony in regards to whether this is a fire safe project or not, and concerns about the evacuation routes. I was wondering if Chief Meacham can go ahead and respond to those concerns that have been raised by a number of speakers.
Thank you, Chairman Cox. When we supported the original project, we did an extensive evaluation of the fire risk, including looking at the fire protection plan, our third-party consultant, and discussion with the Sheriff's Department. We concluded at that point that the project fell within an acceptable level of risk, and we recommended approval of the project. The revised project that was before us today, in my opinion, provides increased fire safety. With the removal of Planning Unit 16, we've reduced the edge effect, or the area where homes meet the wildland, by nearly 13 miles. We've lowered the number of homes that are exposed, and we've also shortened the evacuation distance to the city of Chula Vista to approximately 1.3 miles. On that evacuation corridor from the project to the city of Chula Vista, we average a 68-foot width of fuel modification. The 24 feet for the road, and then 20 feet of fuel modification on both sides. Our third-party consultant, while identifying hazards that are present on every wildfire and giving us options and things to consider, also agreed with our recommendations. So yes, the recommendation of the Fire Authority stands, that it falls within an acceptable level of risk.
Let me ask you the same question I asked, I think, a year ago. While no community, I think, is fire-proof, in your opinion, is this a fire-safe community project?
Yes, Supervisor, it is. The project is built to, although the latest standards, it's in compliance with not only the County Consolidated Fire Code, but Chapter A of the State Fire Code. Specifically, one of the improvements are the ember-resistant vents, which has been shown to be a significant factor in wildfire threat. The revised project also increases the density in clusters development, again, by reducing that edge effect, we normally don't see propagation of fire from structure to structure in any great level. It's usually the homes on the exterior. That, coupled with the open space and the trails and the other open areas within the development, give ourselves and the Sheriff's Department options to temporarily house residents should we not be able to evacuate them. So yes, we believe that the development is fire safe.
Okay, thank you very much, Chief. I appreciate your comments. A question to our staff. I believe the board is in receipt of a letter from the Jackson Pitno Development Company dated yesterday that asked for 3 clarifications. I wonder if staff could go through those clarifications and let us know if that is in fact something that they are supportive of.
Chairman Cox, we have reviewed the request by the applicant to modify the conditions related to greenhouse gas emissions. What they are doing is they are clarifying specific aspects of where the offsets will come from and some additional details regarding the offset sections. We've reviewed the changes that they've requested with County Council, and we are supportive of the conditions. They simply address the issues raised in the most recent legal letter that we received from Shoot Mahali.
Okay, so you're supportive of those clarifications?
That's correct, Chairman.
And then finally, I just have a question. I know in the original approval of the Otay Ranch development plan, which was jointly approved by the city of Chula Vista and the county of San Diego back in, I believe it was 1994, I know that there was an imposition of a beneficial assessment district that would be used for the preservation of the open space areas, maintenance and preservation. Is that an issue that is before us today, or will that be coming up at a later time?
Chairman Cox, you're correct. There is an assessment district that has been formed in the area that would pay towards the maintenance of open space. That is not part of this action today, but it will occur in the future.
The reason I bring that up is I know that in the original language of the Otay Ranch plan, the beneficial assessment district would just be used for maintenance and upkeep of the open space area. I know there may be an opportunity at some point in the future to turn over the open space areas to the resource agencies. And I just want to make sure that when we deal with the beneficial assessment district, we have a little bit broader language included that would allow, if in fact those open space areas are conveyed, that the beneficial assessment district still be collected, but to be used for the maintenance of the trails and upkeep and perhaps construction of trails that may be needed in the future. But I realize it's an issue we'll deal with at a later time. Well, I want to thank our staff, particularly Tom Montgomery and Mark Wardlaw and all of their staffs for the work that they've done since we last heard this project in June of last year. I think this is a far superior project than what we approved a year ago because it does provide more open space. It provides a few more units. It provides a more compact development, and it's a project that clearly has been studied significantly over the years. At the risk of taking a very brisk walk down memory lane, I'm still very proud of the fact that back when I was mayor of Chula Vista, we were able to get the county to agree to sit down with the city of Chula Vista and develop a master plan, if you will, for this entire 23,000 acres that was the Otay Ranch. Over the years, it's been developed in bits and pieces in different villages, and really the only 2 significant villages that will be developed in the county are Village 13 and Village 14, which is before us today. And my understanding, Village 13 will be coming up during July. I don't know that there's been any property that's been more studied and evaluated and researched than the Otay Ranch. I mean, it's been a project that has been literally about 34 years in the making. I think it's something that is probably one of the most significant projects, not just in San Diego County, but the entire country. It's received national awards for the planning effort that went into it, for the thought that went into the creation of the villages. And I think that what we have before us today as a result of the negotiation, and again, I want to thank not only our staff, but Jackson Pitno and also the resource agencies, California Fish and Wildlife and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, for their cooperation and working on this revised plan. As I said, it's going to provide more acres of open space. It's going to provide a few more units, 147 units, which I think are important. But again, it's going to have an affordability component with the multifamily units that'll be a part of that development. And just to address the concern of the last speaker, obviously our approval of this plan, if we do approve it today, is going to be contingent upon the modification to the MSCP, which we'll have, I believe, in July, and also the approval of the Wildlife Conservation Board. But I got to believe that because of this plan, as it's been revised, is a much improved plan, that both of those projects or both of those approvals will be coming shortly. So with that, I would like to move to approve the staff recommendations that have been laid out, and I would look for a second to that motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Supervisor Gaspar. Additional comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Supervisor Jacob.
A year ago when we heard this project, let me back up just a little bit, because I think the OTI plan that was adopted, did you say 34 years ago? That's a long time ago.
Well, the planning
anyway, give or take a few. I mean, it's really an exemplary plan and an example of a large area that was master planned, the OTI shopping center and all the amenities that are down there. And you played a major role in that. And I appreciate that very, very much. I live in Hamul. My house, my ranch property is nowhere near this development. So there's no conflict of interest here. I've lived through the 1970 fires, the 2007 fires. In fact, went directly through our property, both of those. So I know fire quite well, as the entire board does at this point. I've lived it. And this is in a high fire risk zone. And I think what we're looking at when we go back to the general plan, the update that we did in 2011, we didn't touch this area. We didn't touch the density in this area. And at some point, I think we're going to have to make a policy decision rather than piece by piece and project by project. Are we going to allow housing in high risk fire areas or not? And we are allowing people to build in high risk fire areas, and we have protections for those. And we've updated our building code standards to harden the new housing that's coming into this area with defensible space and so on. And we've got a project here. When it came before me a year ago, I opposed it. And a lot of that was because of concerns I had, the traffic coming into Hamul, particularly through Whispering Meadows and the effect on those residential communities. That has been eliminated by this project. Proctor Valley Road being improved will give people in Hamul another exit out of Hamul in case of another fire or whatever emergency might occur. And that's not a bad thing. I think most of the traffic, as is indicated in the reports, will go south into Chula Vista, and it does open up some opportunities for Hamul folks, particularly those in Western Hamul, to be able to have another avenue for shopping, for example. Instead of going to the west, they could go to the south. So, I mean, as you indicated, Mr. Chairman, this is a significantly better project than what was before us a year ago. Not only it consolidates the housing, which improves the ability for the defensible space and fire protection. We get a new fire station out of it, a storefront for a sheriff's station. And unlike some of the other projects that have come before this board, it is consistent with the density in the general plan. And I think we have to reward that if it's a good project and if it truly mitigates some of the impacts that we saw a year ago, which I believe it does at this point. And we're adding another 300 acres of open space. So, and I like the idea of the net zero energy aspects. it does concern me on the GHG to approve the additional condition that the staff is putting on it. It's for 147 homes to put a different condition for greenhouse gas emissions than what's on the rest of the project doesn't make sense to me. And I would like to have some consideration of taking that condition out. The other thing that I would ask, since this is in a high-risk fire zone, to staff, is there any way that we can make sure that home buyers would be aware that the home that they're buying is in a high-risk fire zone? I know that realtors are supposed to disclose all of this stuff, but frankly, some of it is buried in a lot of documents that people don't see. So my question to the staff is there some way that through the approval of this project, which I do support today, if there's some consideration on maybe those two issues, is there anything that we can do?
Does staff have a response?
Supervisor Jacob through the chair. Yes, we could add a condition to the site plan application that's been submitted. It would be prior to occupancy that the future homeowners are notified that they are purchasing homes within a very high fire hazard severity zone. Staff could add that condition to the site plan approval today.
Would that be acceptable to the maker of the motion and the second?
That would be acceptable to the maker of the motion. Let me ask Supervisor Gaspar if that's okay with her.
Okay.
How about deleting that condition on the 147 homes?
And that's recommendation number 4 in the staff recommendation, I believe.
That's correct.
I'm fine with dropping that recommendation. Is that acceptable to the seconder?
I need to review that real quick. Hold on. You can carry forward with discussion.
Okay, we'll come back to that issue. Supervisor Desmond, Vice Chair Desmond.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I agree with Supervisor Jacob that item 4 is a new condition that I don't think, that's more of a policy decision. I think we should have as a separate item and not attached to this particular project. I would like to ask, maybe could the applicant speak to this other condition that Supervisor Jacob is recommending on the additional notification of the fire zone? I don't know if the applicant I'd like to hear from them, their thoughts on this.
And I'm okay with the removal of that item 4.
Okay, let me ask our clerk, is the applicant, are they still online and available to respond to a question?
They are still on the line, Mr. Chairman, so we will
okay.
Them.
Yes, this is Liz Jackson representing the applicant, and we are fine with the condition to notify the homeowners prior to issuance of the occupancy permit as part of the homeowner disclosures that are required by DRE. We would agree to that.
Thank you for that. Could I make one other comment, Mr. Chairman?
Sure, go ahead, Supervisor.
Just for the folks, my friends in Hamul, some support, some oppose this, but what we're faced with today is if we don't approve this project, then it goes back to the prior project. And this is a far better project with a lot more protections that you stated, and I restated some of those. So I want the folks, particularly those in Hamul, to know that. And that I'm not going to approve a housing development just for the sake of we need more housing. I want a good development, a solid development, one that makes sense. And this one does. And I want to applaud Rod Cameron and the Adara people and all those that have worked on this. If I remember correctly, this was something they wanted to do originally, and then something happened in between. It's been a long haul, but it is a much better project. And I appreciate all that have been a part of making it happen today for what it is. And I think we're going to get something good come out of this. Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Just to clarify then, the motion was made by myself, seconded by Supervisor Gaspar with some modifications. I just want to clarify that the recommendations of the item before us includes the Planning Commission recommendations and staff recommendations and the applicant's clarifications and changes, which staff has agreed to. It includes a deletion of recommendation number 4 from the staff recommendations, and it includes a requirement that there be a notice to buyers prior to their purchase that they are purchasing in a high fire zone. Does that kind of include everything, Supervisor Jacob, that you had raised?
Unmuting. Yes, it does. The house is in a high fire risk zone. Yeah.
All right. And let me ask if staff has any additional comments they want to make.
Chairman Cox, we'd like to clarify that we received a number of letters prior to the hearing today. We've reviewed those letters with County Council and confirmed that there's no new information provided in those letters that we haven't previously responded to in our comments. We also wanted to note and respond to the comment that was made today about us deleting information from the record. We have been making changes to the documents in response to the letters that we've been receiving. No information was deleted. Information may have been placed in other documents in response to the comments to help clarify and confirm some of the statements that we've provided in the past. Just wanted to make sure that those that we explained some of those issues that were brought up today.
Okay, if there's no further comments, let me ask staff if they want to make one final run at this before we or the clerk, before we actually call for the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The motion includes the Planning Commission and staff recommendations, except the recommendation number 4 from Planning and Development Services regarding the approval of the additional requirement for the greenhouse gas emissions. Also includes the applicant clarifications and changes and adds a condition to the site plan application that indicates prior to occupancy to notify homeowners that they're in a higher fire hazard zone.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you. Chairman Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Jacob?
Aye.
Supervisor Gaspar?
Aye.
Supervisor Fletcher?
No.
Vice Chairman Desmond?
Aye.
Chairman Cox, that motion passes with Supervisor Fletcher voting no, all other supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, the last item we have today is an adjournment in memory, of which we just have one, which I would like to do at this time. I would ask that we adjourn this meeting in honor of Bob Korzep, who was a longtime South County athletic coach who won championships on the field and was a role model to generations of students off the field. He passed away May 15th at the age of 83. Mr. Korzep was a graduate of San Diego State University, and over a decades-long career, coached at numerous schools throughout the region. He coached varsity basketball at Chula Vista High School, winning the 2 Metro League titles and losing to a Bill Walton-led team from Helix High School in the 1970 San Diego section championship game. He was the head football coach at Chula Vista High School from 1975 to 1977, and at Monte Vista High School in 1978, and Castle Park High School from 1980 to 1984, and again from 1987 to 1988. He was the head baseball coach at Castle Park High School from 1983 to 1996, winning 3 league titles, and he was an assistant football coach at the University of San Diego and a scout for the Texas Rangers. Mr. Korzep was survived by his wife of 60 years, Mary, and sons Kip and Cliff. Bob Korzep may have won many championships as a coach, but it will be his lasting impact on the lives of young men that will be truly missed and will be his lasting legacy. With that, we have no further items to come before us today, so we will adjourn to the next regular scheduled board meeting, which I do not have the date in front of me, but it's, I think, 3 weeks from yesterday.
Mr. Chairman, the next regular meeting of the board will take place on Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020.
Very good. If there's no further business, we will stand adjourned.